Tied at 8.
Hard today when he does get the ball, and he's going to take it for over the court, and your point.
Hi, my name is Joe Figler. I'm here with Aiden Brown with Brookline Access Television. We're here today covering the boys wrestling match between Brookline High School and Needham High School. Today is a special day here at Brookline. It's the senior day for the senior wrestlers here at Brookline, and we're actually lucky to have a senior with us in Aiden. Aiden, what do you think about today's matchup?
It's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. We have a lot of newer wrestlers this year, a lot of freshmen, a lot of first-year wrestlers, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do against these good opponents. People to look out for are some of our veterans, UV Shatil at 106, Stefano and Ricardo Magni at 138 and 132 respectively, Jacob Heineman at 145, and Ramsey Zakamafula at 195. Those are definitely going to be the matches that are going to be the most exciting to watch.
All right, that sounds great. We'll look forward to those matches and stay tuned for more action.
I'd like to introduce our senior wrestlers. Daniel Gibbons. First-year varsity wrestler at 152 pounds. He hopes to attend Hampshire College in the fall. Andres Marin. Escorted by his North Carolina. Is a second-year starter at 182 pounds. He is rugby captain and hopes to attend West Point in the fall. Jacob Heineman. Is a third-year varsity starter at 145 pounds. He hopes to attend Tabor Academy in the fall. Joseph Showett. Fourth-year wrestler. He hopes to attend college in the fall. Now our captains, Aiden Brown. Escorted by his father Chris and mother Lisa, is a fourth-year wrestler. He has been sectional place winner, Longmeadow tournament finalist, and Weymouth tournament finalist during his BHS career. He will be attending Tufts University in the fall of 2014. And Captain Ramsey Akamafula, escorted by his mother Marissa and father Aja, is a fourth-year varsity starter at 195 pounds. He is the defending Division I Central Section champion, two-time Weymouth tournament champion, two-time Longmeadow tournament champion, and two-time Belmont tournament champion. He placed second in the Massachusetts All-State Tournament last season. He is 28-2 this season with 25 pins. He hopes to attend Boston University in the fall. Let's hear it for all of our senior warriors. Now for tonight's starting lineups. At 106 pounds, for Brookline, UV Shatil. Followed by Dave Shannon. At 113 pounds, for Brookline, Noah Solomon. Followed by Needham, Steve Goldstein. At 120 pounds, Brookline's Jake McMillan. Opposed by Lucas Goldman of the Rockets. Wrestling 126 pounds for Brookline, Henry Finkel. Against Needham's Justin Jacobs. Ricardo Magni of Brookline at 132 pounds, opposed by Travis Gibkin. At 145 pounds, for the Warriors, Jacob Heineman. He'll wrestle against Needham Zach Goldman. At 152 for Brookline, Daniel Gibbons. Opposed by Needham's Ishan Bayer. At 160 pounds for Brookline, Mustafa Yildirim. Opposed by Needham's Andrew Kingston. Chris Casey wrestles at 170 pounds for the Warriors. And he'll take on Takariyama of the Rockets. At 182 pounds, Andres Marin of Brookline faces Anton Miles of the Rockets. At 195 pounds, the Rockets' John Cronin will wrestle unopposed. At 220 pounds, the Warriors, Oranzi Zakamamua, will be opposed by Needham's Chris Detak. And at 285, the Warriors' Aiden Abdul Kadir will oppose Needham's Will Burke. Tonight's match will begin at the 106-pound class. The Needham Rockets are coached by Mr. Paul Ahern and the Brookline Warriors by Mr. Mike Carver. At this time, please ask you to rise for the playing of our national anthem.
Alright, I'd just like to welcome everyone back to today's wrestling action between Brookline High School and Needham High School. We just finished up a number of ceremonies for the seniors because today is senior day, and they finished up the introduction of all the wrestlers and the national anthem. So now we're getting ready for the 106-pound weight class. So for Brookline, we have Noah Solomon.
So Noah Solomon just took the forfeit for Brookline. That is 6 points for the team. So because it's senior night, we will be having music playing for each of the wrestlers. Most of them got to choose their songs, although not all of them had a say in the matter.
Now up for Brookline is UV Shatil, who's wrestling at 113. He's going up against Dan Goldstein from Needham.
UV has consistently been one of our team's leaders. That's why he is a captain during his junior year. So this will be a very interesting match to watch. That's a takedown for UV. He's looking for that half and he's missed it. Out of bounds.
Looks like that was a pretty quick call by the ref.
Yeah. Some referees like to play it till everybody's fully out of the ring. Some other times they want to keep the match moving, so they'll have them go back to the center. There's Needham with his switch. U-switch trying to get out.
Goldstein's doing a pretty good job of being active on the bottom.
UV's got to stay behind. That's one escape for Needham.
Both wrestlers seem pretty content to just go out of bounds on that one. So it looks like they'll just restart it now.
Agreed. And UV's attack was stopped. Now he has to work to get in position. Right now, both wrestlers are in what's called a scramble, which neither one is really in any advantage. So they're both working to score points.
We'll have another restart in the middle.
For our viewers who do not know, this is called neutral position. Both wrestlers are working to get what's called a takedown, when you take the other person down to the match and get control. So that was a takedown. UV got 2 points for his takedown. Then it was stopped due to a potentially dangerous pulling of Needham kid's arm. Dan Goldstein. Dan Goldstein of Needham is doing a good job staying moving on the bottom position. That's very important because when you stop moving, you are at very high risk for giving up points. UV Shatil of Brookline is doing a good job staying behind him and breaking him down so that he can work for his moves. And that's the end of the first period.
With the score of 4-1 for Brookline, Shatil decided to defer to the third period, and it looks like Goldstein chose down.
UV is lining up on the right side instead of the left like most wrestlers tend to do. This can be very confusing for the other wrestler if they're not used to working with it.
I've always liked when wrestlers did that, especially because if a guy's not used to it, it buys you another second or so while they try to figure it out.
So UV likes to work with that head lever to where he lifts on the arm. And
gotta be careful for that arm.
Yeah. He has to keep with it though. Needham wrestlers doing a good job of fighting that.
With both wrestlers going out of bounds, it's time for a restart. Goldstein will be on bottom, Shatil will be on the top.
I don't know about you, Joe, but I'm thinking they're starting to look a little tired to me.
A little bit.
Caution on the bottom man for moving a little early.
Goldstein's been doing well with sitting out and turning in, but he's really got to do something with that.
Agreed. For both wrestlers, when they make a move, they're going to have to stick with it and follow through. When you do something halfway, not only do you put yourself at risk, you're not going to get anything.
See, with those sit-outs, it would be good for Goldstein to turn it into, let's say, a switch, you know, because you start to create space, and then you can easily do something else, but he's just stopping after the sit-outs. Wrestlers just went out of bounds, so it's back to another restart.
And this time he lines up on the left side. Looked like he originally tried to do a Radman chop, but Goldstein was very good at fighting back to his feet, where UV then proceeded to bring him back down. And there is the second period, so we will now go on to the third period. UV chooses neutral, which is generally not something you see often amongst high school wrestlers, because neutral can be one of the most physically exhausting positions to be in. But UV Shatil tends to like working from his feet.
He's also taken down Goldstein twice, so I'm sure he feels pretty confident that he can do it again.
Although it's important for all wrestlers to never get too
overconfident. Yeah. Goldstein's trying to do a head tap on Shatil, but I think he'd be better served if he pulled down the head a little bit more, as opposed to just tapping it.
UV consistently trying to go for his bread and butter, the fireman's dump. However, it looks like Goldstein's caught on, so UV's going to have to try and use a different move, such as a sweep single, which is where he goes around to the outside, double leg takedown. Good shot by Goldstein. UV doing a good job sprawling, staying behind.
It looked like Shatil saw that one coming. You could tell by the way he moved his right leg as Goldstein shot in.
At this point in time, there's always the risk that when a wrestler is up, he may feel comfortable enough to try and maintain his position as opposed to looking for more points. However, it's generally prevented by the referee calling stalling, which is where if you're not working for offense, you can potentially give up points. Good shot by UV. Stepping over.
Good takedown.
Getting the half, and no back points. Oh, 2 back points. UV lets him up to take him back down in an attempt to get a major, but he needs to take a shot. If you're up by 8 points as opposed to less than 8 points, it's 4 points for the team instead of 3 points for the team for a regular decision.
Looks like the Needham coach is contesting the back points. So the Needham coach was contesting that the referee didn't actually count out the back points, but he said he was watching it visually, and it's not a requirement to actually signal the back points.
UV has 3 seconds to get a takedown. It's always possible. And a good match by Dan Goldstein and UV Shatil. That is 3 points for Brookline.
So that brings us to a score of 9-0 Brookline. Brookline's off to a great start so far. Now at 120, we have Lucas Goldman from Needham, who will be going up against
Henry Finkel of Brookline. Henry is a first-year wrestler. He's shown some promise and some talent. However, he has not had the opportunity to win so many of his matches this year. If he can stay aggressive the whole time, he has a very good chance.
From what I've been told, Lucas Goldman is ranked number 4 in the state. So I think Henry might have a really tough time today.
It was a good original shot by Henry, but he has to follow through on his moves and not give up on anything.
This will definitely be a good learning experience for him, though. That was a good takedown by Goldman.
Now Henry needs to move down there to try and get out. If he stays still, he's going to put himself at risk. He's gotten his hips out, which puts him in position for potentially a roll, but he has to work with it. Otherwise, the other guy is going to go for a Mills half. And it looks like Lucas Goldman is getting the Mills half. Henry has to keep on fighting and keep on moving. Otherwise, he's going to find himself on his back. Yep. One escape by the ref.
That was a good job by Finkel to get out of that.
The Needham coaches are contesting the escape, likely because generally the escape's only awarded when there's no contact between the two, and the Needham wrestler was holding on to Henry Finkel's legs.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I get the feeling that the Needham coaches aren't very happy with the ref today.
They are not, and that's always the risk in these matches. It's very difficult to ref. You've got to be very vigilant, and it's a lot of personal judgment. It's a very subjective job because the rules, although they do seem to be very well defined, it's hard to tell exactly when someone's in control or has lost control. Lucas Goldman got his takedown. Looks like he was aiming for a stack, but Henry Finkel did a good job of fighting it off. Lucas Goldman of Needham chooses the top position, which means he's probably going to be trying to turn Henry Finkel for either back points or in the hopes of a pin. And aiming for the stack, but Henry Finkel did a good job of fighting out of that. Lucas Goldman with the bar arm. Going to he has to step over Henry's head in order to get it. And Henry's doing a very good job of fighting it out, but he has to do more than just defend. Good attempt at a stand up, but no points. Both Both pairs of coaches seem slightly agitated. Good Granby roll by Henry Finkel. But he has to work with it. It's all fine and dandy to run a fancy move, but if you can't finish it.
That's another instance where I'd like to see a wrestler have that Granby roll set up something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great way to create space, but if you're not using the space you create, like you said, it's a waste.
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of new wrestlers have to learn in order to be successful is that you can't just run a single move. You have to string moves together.
Chain wrestling.
That's the flow.
Wow.
The referee called the escape. Needham coach is very upset about that, bringing him over to the
That seemed like
table.
a generous escape call. Seems like the Needham coach wants an explanation as to what exactly is an escape.
Brookline coach Michael Carver, not necessarily defending or contesting the escape, although I'm sure he is just as glad to have it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The one thing that Needham coach has to be careful of is if you start to get on the wrong side of the ref,
Oh, yeah.
it's just going to snowball into a lot of other calls that you're just not going to like.
And then at other times, you see referees calling misconduct and unsportsmanlike conduct on coaches and wrestlers for being too rowdy
Right.
or rude.
Definitely. The only thing you can really ask from an official is to be consistent.
Yeah. So if you do make a bad call, you have to make that same bad call the whole night.
Right. So that way everyone knows what to expect and they can just adjust. That was a nice takedown by Goldman.
Finkel is in a position there to get a switch. Let's get out. No escape.
He really does seem to like that Granby roll.
Yeah. We've been learning that in practice recently. However, the way it's been taught, you grab the wrist when you roll so that you get into a turn. Because as you said, Joe, if you don't do anything with it, it's worthless.
Yeah.
Good fight by Henry Finkel. He has another period in which to score 4 points or get a pin. And anything can happen in 2 minutes. I've seen matches when you have people who are ranked in the state against nobodies in which the guy is up 13-5. And then third period, 20 seconds to go, there's a reversal straight to their back, and it's a pin. You've always got to be careful in wrestling. Henry Finkel is showing some signs of the physical exhaustion. It is an extraordinarily exhausting sport, more than you could tell by looking at it. For a comparison, imagine sprinting for 6 minutes or lifting a sack of flour that weighs the same amount as you do consistently, constantly. Good shot by Henry. He has to finish. Step over, and he has to lift the leg. Good fight by Lucas Goldman, getting out of that. Both wrestlers are looking a little tired. And generally, that's what you'll find in the third period. It's not a question of who has the best conditioning, but rather who is able to work when they're exhausted. What's your opinion on third period wrestling, Joe?
A lot of times it has to do with just who wants it more.
Yeah.
You really got to pick your spots as to when you're really going to lay it all on the line.
Yeah. It looks like the Needham wrestler is aiming for a major. And he's now up by 8 points, which means that if he keeps Henry down, that's 4 points for Needham.
That was a huge takedown by Goldman.
And Henry's finger's being turned to his back. He has to avoid the pin, otherwise that's 6 points for Needham. And a good match between Lucas Goldman and Henry Finkel of Brookline. That is 4 points for Needham, which brings a total score 9-4.
I think Finkel did a really good job, seeing as how he's a freshman. Good showing. Now we have Justin Jacobs from Needham.
And Jake McMillan of Brookline. Jake's a second-year wrestler. He's a sophomore, and he's shown he's had some really good matches this year. He's also had some not-so-good matches this year. If he's careful and he is smart with the moves he runs, he'll do well. But he has to watch out for some of the more dangerous moves he likes to go with, like a head toss and gator rolls, which often leave him exposed. You see him reaching over the head there. He's aiming for a hip toss or a head toss, which generally is not necessarily that effective, but every once in a while, you find a kid who it can work on.
In the few matches I've seen Jake wrestle, he seems a little unorthodox for me, but when I've seen him, he's done well, so apparently it's working for him.
When it works, it works, but if it doesn't, he ends up getting himself turned to his back. You could hear the Needham team groaning because generally those kinds of moves are the moves that...
High risk.
Yeah. Jake's got to work with his lead here. He has to turn the guy and score some points for the team. Step over the head with the arm bar. Good fight by Justin Jacobs.
At this point, I would just push him out of bounds and start over.
Jack McMillan trying to turn him back into the center so he can run his moves. But now he's got to work in order to score some points here. He's got to keep on running around. Step over. And there are the backs. Now if he stays here, 8 seconds to go, we may
put
see
in a
finish,
half.
but with a good wrestler, it's unlikely.
He's putting in a half. If he settles back, he had to get chest to chest on that.
Yeah, you'll hear the coaches shouting chest to chest. That means what it sounds means that the wrestler has to get his chest on the other wrestler's chest in order to put all of his weight on him and send him down to the ground.
All right, so it looks like McMillan will start off on bottom, while Jacobs will be on top.
A good 7-0 lead.
That was a big reversal by McMillan.
Good reverse half there. He's got a whole minute to hang out.
If he could get up on his toes, put some more pressure on Jacobs, he might get this pin.
You got to get the other guy's head in his armpit in order to really pull it up. Good wrestlers won't let themselves get pinned because that's more a matter of effort and heart
Definitely.
than it is about skill. You'll see really good guys, if they're on their back, it's like trying to hold down a tiger.
Yeah. If I were Justin, I would probably turn into McMillan right now. Really fast while you bridge and then try to
And the ref
Create
with
some
a very
space,
long
but-
out whistle pin.
Yeah. He probably could have called that earlier,
Yeah.
too. But good job by McMillan.
You often see referees have different styles for how they like to call pins.
Yeah.
Once last year, there was a guy who would jump over them and slam the mat. It was interesting. Thanks the word for it.
So it looks like at the 132-pound weight class, we have Ricardo Magni against Travis
Setela. That's
Setela.
Setela. We're just going to call him Travis. Ricardo's had a fairly good season this year. As long as he stays aggressive and keeps on working, he'll be fine.
Now it looks like it's the Brookline coach's turn to start complaining about the reffing. They thought that Ricardo was able to keep both legs in during that takedown, even though Zatello was out of bounds. The ref didn't see it like that, so that's why they had the restart.
Once a ref has made a call, it's very difficult to get it changed.
Oh, they won't. No way they're going to change it.
Because then the ref loses credibility.
Right.
And that's not acceptable. So now he's got to bring him back in. So you'll see him. Yep. Now he has to take him down. You can see Travis looking for the wizard there, and there's a 2. They're still in bounds, but Travis is looking to get out.
Magni did a good job methodically just taking him down on that.
Yeah. Brookline coach telling Ricardo to aim for tilts to get points. Has a 2-on-1. We're going for the Mason tilt, and there it is. Hard to say if there are any points yet. It has to be below a 45-degree angle and below 4 inches above the mat for the ref to count backs, which is, of course, up to referee discretion. My 45 could be your 30, could be his 60. And that's 3 back points for Ricardo Magni. The ref will count when the back is exposed. A 2 count is 2 points. A 5 count is 3 points.
It's interesting. This ref doesn't like to actually do the counts. He just does it internally, which is very difficult for everyone to know what's going on.
And there is the first period. We're going to need to get as much of a lead as we can in these lower weights, because up towards the middle and upper weights, we start seeing some of the weaker sections of our team and the stronger sections of Needham team will be duking it out. Got to settle back with that, and
again, the problem is he was on his knees.
Yeah.
Not enough pressure on the Needham wrestler.
All of his weight's on the mat. Simple physics.
Boy.
And technically that should not be back points because it's above 4 inches, which is what the Needham coach is claiming. However, the referee disagrees.
And Magni really has to be careful on those tilts because he's going right on his back, and you got to be careful for the defensive pin.
Yep. If one wrestler's up by 15 points or more, the match will automatically be stopped, and the wrestler will be given a technical fall, which is 5 points for the team. The tech fall has also been described as the mercy pin, because at that point, generally when a wrestler is losing by that much, it's a good signal that there's not going to be much of a chance for him to win.
No.
Ricardo has to break him down, although the coach has signaled for him to cut the wrestler. This is where he purposefully lets them up in order to score another takedown, because an escape is 1 point, while a takedown is 2 points. Ricardo has a 9-point lead. He needs to lead by 6 more points in order to automatically win the match. However, he and the coaches are probably hoping for a pin, which is 16 points as opposed to 5.
And that 1 point could be very valuable later in the match.
He has to get off his knees here, like you said, Joe.
Usually that's a sign of a tired wrestler when they're on their knees.
Has to settle back, get his chin in there. Has the arm. And there is the second period.
So after 2, Magny's up 10-1 over Zatella.
And Brookline chooses neutral. You can generally tell the state of a wrestler's energy by their stance. When a wrestler has a lot of energy, they'll be low, their knees will be bent. When they're more tired, you'll generally see them stand up more. So if you look at these wrestlers, you can see that both of them look very exhausted at this point.
That's a great point. You can start to see it in Zatella a little bit. Looks like he's getting a little worn out. I'm not sure if it's that or he's just getting frustrated with wrestling against Magny. Could be a combination of both.
From experience when wrestling against Ricardo and his brother, they have a slightly unorthodox style of wrestling. They're very good in scramble situations, which means that they don't tend to run actual moves, but they're very good at fighting out.
Yeah.
And with 2 feet in, that is 2 points for Brookline.
And as you'll notice, Magny did a good job of keeping it both his knees and feet in bounds when he took down Zatella.
This is one of the things that so Ricardo just let him up in order to get so the other kid has 1 point. Now he's aiming for a takedown in order to hopefully score more points. But now that he's let him up, he has to work to get his 2 right there. Now, this is one of the things about high school wrestling that I think college wrestling does better, in which you only have to have 1 point of contact inside the mat in order for it to be in bounds. It drastically increases the radius of action. Ricardo needs 3 more points in order to automatically win the match.
I would expect him to try another tilt right here. Looks like he likes those.
Down the Western. Personally, when I'm top, I used to like to ride legs.
So did I.
What was your favorite?
I used to be a leg rider too.
Yeah. Good fight by Travis. With 20 seconds to go, Travis appears to be working to do whatever he can to keep Ricardo from scoring.
Oh, he's got to watch out for that head. Looks like he's run out of time.
And that is the match. Ricardo Magny getting a major decision for Brookline. That's another 4 points. Brings us 13-3.
I believe it is 19-4.
19-4? No, well, we just got that 4. That was for us. The 3 here was for...
Yeah, so 6-6-4-3.
So 6-3. We just scored the 4. The 3 was for...
We'll figure it out in a second.
We'll figure it out. Math is not necessarily our strong point. So, wrestlers for Brookline, I'm not sure if Needham as well. We went through midterms today and the past few days.
Here we have Stefano Magny against Mikhail
Kolokin. Or it might be a Khil. KH. Very flashy shoes on Mikhail. wrestling shoes can often be a statement. However, a lot of wrestlers just go for function as opposed to style.
Now this should actually be a very good match because McHale is believed to be ranked in the top 2 in the state this year.
Stefano's had a fairly good season so far. This will be very interesting to help us learn where he's at overall. Mikhail's very aggressive, which is good in wrestling, so Stefano has to also stay aggressive, otherwise he's going to find himself being taken down. Ricardo aiming for a throw, duck unders, no score. No score. Has a leg, he has to use it though. Mikhail has a very good whizzer in there. If Stefano's not careful, he could find himself not scoring anything. The referee calls potentially dangerous. I'm assuming due to an arm being pulled too far up.
It might have been the position of the Needham wrestler's knee on that.
You generally don't see very many injuries in wrestling because the referees do stop the match if they think something's going to be dangerous. Good shot. And a very good fight out by Mikhail. Stefano's got to finish there and work through it. It looks like this match is going to be determined mainly by how each wrestler is on top and bottom. Was that a freestyle move?
It looked like it was.
It looked like a freestyle. And it's 0-0 after the first period. We're going on into the second. Brookline defers to Needham. Needham chooses down. Gotta be careful there. This is a position you don't want to be in, whether you're on top or on bottom, because if you're on top, the guy can scoot out under you and reverse you. If you're on bottom, it's an opportunity for the top man to throw in a leg. And it looks like Mikhail has caught Stefano's boot and got over the head, which means he's going to be aiming for a reverse or a stem. So Stefano has to get under his armpits, and it's too late. It's a good reversal by Mikhail. Stefano's got to work on bottom there.
Magny's really got to start working on the bottom. All he's doing is giving the Needham wrestler time to work a move on him.
Yeah. When you stay still down there like that, you're going to get yourself turned as such. And no backs on that tilt.
It'll be interesting to see if the ref gives back points.
And he gave back points.
He did. Even though he's not signaling them, he's still counting them.
And the referee is calling out a warning to the wrestlers, saying that he might be calling stalling soon enough, which means that Stefano's got to work on bottom. Otherwise, he's going to find himself penalized. Stefano chooses neutral. He has to score a takedown and get back points or multiple takedowns within the period. Means he needs to be aggressive and needs to take shots.
Down by 4 in the third period. Magny's really got to pick up the pace here.
Yep.
He's really got to start taking it to him. Otherwise, he's not going to make up those 4 points.
You can't be passive in wrestling.
Usually seeing a wrestler with their hands on their hips isn't a good sign.
It's a sign of exhaustion. Good sprawl by Mikhail. Stefano's got to drag that elbow out, get over there, hip over. There was an opportunity to score there. He needs to take advantage of those. Needs to take shots. Not entirely sure what he's aiming for right now. He has to finish there and score.
What do you think? Do you think Stefano has a 5-point move in his bag of tricks?
Hard to say. It's a question of whether or not he can bring himself to really explode in these last 40 seconds. Consistent issue with our Brookline wrestlers is that we tend to, a lot of the kids on the team tend to not be aggressive when it counts.
Yeah.
At this point, 20 seconds to go, you're losing by 4 points. You shouldn't be thinking about your moves. You should just be taking shot after shot after shot, because it doesn't matter if you get scored on here.
Right. He needs a lot more desperation.
Got to keep going with that. You can see the Brookline wrestlers seem fairly frustrated at the moment. And no score. As a match, Stefano Magni against Mikhail Kolokin of Needham, who is number 2 in the state. That's another 3 points for Needham. Bringing the score to, I'm not entirely sure.
I believe the score is 19-7.
That's what I'm going to do.
So here we have Jacob Heineman going up against Zach Goldman from Needham. Jacob Heineman is the Brookline wrestler. Goldman with the takedown for 2.
And the team score is 19-7. Jacob Heinemann's got to fight from bottom here. You know, it's interesting. A couple years ago, we had a lot of guys who were really good, top and bottom, but awful in neutral.
Yeah.
Now our guys are better at getting takedowns, but don't know how to work when they're on the ground. Jacob's in a good position to score here. He needs to get around. Crack down on that head. Lets it out.
Usually that's just a reflection of what people are practicing. You know, if they practice harder at neutral, they're going to do better, you know.
Good funk by Jacob. And Whizzer, he still has to get his leg out and try and score.
Oh.
No points.
So with the score 2-1, the Needham wrestler, Goldman, chose to defer, and then Heinemann chose bottom. That looked like a false start.
Looks like Heinemann's going to be going for a Granby roll or try to get his hips out in some other way. Yep, there's a Granby. Now he has to use it, and he has to work with that. Gets around, got his reversal.
And Aiden, as you pointed out earlier, when you're doing a Granby roll, you need that wrist.
Yeah.
And Heinemann did a good job of holding onto the wrist when he did it.
No back points there. Jacob Heinemann has to break the other guy down, which means he has to get him to his stomach, at which point he'll be able to run moves. Has to re-switch here. Goldman doing a good job of fighting out. Now, and getting around. Jacob has to be careful that he doesn't give up the reversal, which he just did. Slightly confusing from the referee, making a reversal motion and signaling 2 multiple times. Brookline claiming for a 1, giving it, tied up. At this point, they both have to work, and both of them look like they don't want to. Good shot by Goldman. No score.
I'm surprised the ref didn't give Heinemann any points on that Granby roll.
Agreed.
I would have thought he would have gotten some back points on that.
It looked like the ref didn't award the reversal until after he turned it back in. And probably, this is something that changes by the refs I've seen. Some refs award back points even when the person's out of control. Other refs only award backs when they think you are in control. Needham coach is not happy. Captain Uvi Shatil has been very vocal this match, doing his job, cheering on his teammates and giving them advice throughout the match.
An interesting thing also is when you look at the 2 benches, the Needham bench seems a lot more relaxed, you know, as everyone just has been sitting down the whole time. Whereas the Brookline bench seems a lot more into it where everyone's standing.
Perhaps the Needham guys have a secret weapon. Just, they're going to roll out a tank.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you do get matches where a team loses the first 5 and then their deeper guys
Are all the heavier guys.
Yeah.
The tough
The
thing
issue-
about a break like this is you lose any sort of momentum you might have had.
And it gives the wrestlers a chance to get their energy back, which for some can be very essential, and for others who kind of depend on the advantage of being able to have more energy than your opponent.
Yeah, this favors the out of shape wrestler, you
Yeah.
could say.
"15 seconds in the second period. A takedown here could be the difference in the overall match. Good whizzer. 5 seconds to go. And there's the takedown. Needham doing very well with those sweep singles. Very underrated move, I find, amongst high school wrestlers.
So Goldman is on bottom with Heineman on top.
Jacob is down by 3, which means that he needs to get more than a takedown in order to win. Which means he needs to work here, as opposed to being defensive. This is something that I find confusing and a little perplexing when you find wrestlers who, even when they're losing, stay on the defensive.
Yeah. Usually has to do with them just not being comfortable with their shots
Yeah.
and being more comfortable with their sprawls and defense, but
Jacob's got to roll through with that leg in a move called the funk if he wants to prevent giving up the 2. However, it looks like he is out of energy. And there's the 2. Down by 5. Jacob has 50 seconds to get a reversal and 3 back points, which is always possible.
right now Heineman should just get out of bounds so he can try to set up that Granby roll off the whistle.
Yeah. If he can get himself out, he can. No. If he can get out, he can set himself up for a Granby and potentially go for a pinning move.
Because that's a 5-point move right there if you do it
Yeah.
right. That's exactly what he needs right now.
His feet are out, so he's pretty much set for that if he wanted to go for it. You can't go for an escape right now because you're not going to get enough points.
The ref actually just did him a favor by not giving
Yep.
him the escape there. It's much easier to get a 5-point move on the bottom than it is in neutral.
He needs to,
Oh, he needed to
he
clear
needs
that
to
leg.
go again. He can't stop. Moves like that are hard to do when the other wrestler knows they're coming.
And when you're tired.
Yeah. In the end, that's what a lot of these matches come down to.
That was a good match, though.
That is 3 points for Needham.
Which brings our score to 19-10 in favor of Brookline.
Today's score has been brought to you by the arithmetic master,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah, my Brookline education, has taught me well.
We now have Mustafa Yilarim versus Islam Biav. I'm totally guessing on these names.
Your guess is much better than mine. I'll tell you that.
Mustafa is also a first-year wrestler. Due to complications, he hasn't been able to show up to all of the matches and practices, so it'll be interesting to see what he has retained so far. You can notice during some of these matches, a lot of the Brookline guys are backing up. That's a sign of a lack of aggression, which is often an issue with with Brookline wrestlers and Brookline kids in general. When you grow up in such a nice environment, it's hard to get angry.
I think it's also a lack of confidence. You know, when you see the more experienced wrestlers, they don't do it
Yeah.
because they're a lot more confident with what they're doing. A lot of times the inexperienced wrestlers tend to back up because they're nervous.
And a good takedown by Islam. Looking for his half and walking over. Now Mustafa's got to fight back over and get through in order to prevent from getting pinned, like so. If he can work, Krajewski go across the face as opposed to reaching over. He's got to be careful here. Otherwise,
Oh boy.
and there is another pin, which brings the team score 17-16, Needham.
That was a nice job by Bayev.
We now have Dan Gibbons, a third-year wrestler, first year for Brookline.
Going up against Andrew Kingston from Needham.
Dan needs to make sure he stays aggressive the whole time. He can be very well as long as he makes sure he keeps working. Looks like Kingston is also a very good wrestler. He's lots of motion on bottom, which is key. You'll notice the Brookline wrestlers having trouble running moves on the Needham wrestlers when they're on top, mainly because the Needham wrestlers keep moving.
Yeah, it's true. That's the key to being on bottom, is just creating space. And you can't do that if you sit still.
Yep. Dan got to watch out for these. Oh, has to hip down there. Giving up the escape. One of the poorer habits that all high school wrestlers do is hanging onto the head and what's called a collar tie. It's when they grab onto the neck and hang on there. And all high school wrestlers love to do it. The issue is that when you have a collar tie, you can't physically run a move, and it leaves you exposed.
Gibbons has really got to work from the bottom here.
Yep.
He's giving Kingston way too much time to set up moves on him.
You can see there's absolutely no motion.
Oh,
here right now.
my goodness.
It's a good job by Dan. Got to keep him
He's
down
got to
there.
tighten that up and look up.
Really good
Wow.
fight from Kingston.
That was
Dan
a-
keeps going with it, and he gave it up.
That was a great job by Kingston fighting off his back. That goes exactly to what you were saying earlier. When there's a guy on the bottom, you know, a good
Yep.
wrestler is going to fight like all heck to get up. And that's exactly what Kingston did. He did really well on that.
And it looks like the Brookline coach has an argument. So
I
was that
I
two back points?
I don't understand how that wasn't a 5-point move for Gibbons.
Agreed.
You would have thought he would have got the 2 for the reversal and 3 for the back points.
It
But
appears that he only awarded 2 for back points, which the confusion is that he was down there for over 5 seconds. And
well, I think another part of the confusion is this ref doesn't like to actually
count.
signal,
Yep.
you know, the back points. So then nobody knows what he's really
Yep.
giving credit for and what he's not.
Again, very good fight by Kingston. And a good move by Dan taking an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, Kingston took a gamble with that roll or that tilt or whatever he was trying to do. He got caught, unfortunately for him, and did a great job of recovering.
However, it's important for Dan to remember that he needs to stay moving on bottom.
Yeah.
If you were watching him before he got that good move there you can see absolutely no motion. He's staying still.
Which is exactly why Kingston was able to set up that move to begin with.
Yep. And the match will now resume in the second period.
So it looks like they adjusted the score to 6-3 in favor of Brookline.
Did the period end?
I believe it did.
Did not notice that.
So I believe Brookline deferred. Needham chose down, so Gibbons on top.
With these guys, when you know they're going to run a move, you have to be prepared for it. Kingston, once again, worked for the switch and the sit-out turn-ins, which if you know it's coming, you can block it off with by shifting your weight to the right side.
Apparently we're having some score issues here. I think the ref is signaling the wrong team with some of these point values. So right now, Brookline was discredited with an escape, even though it was Needham who got the escape.
Yep.
So 6-4 is the correct score.
There's also the concern from the fact that our man on score table today, Joseph Shohet, is recovering from a concussion.
And you said you guys are just going through midterms right now?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Talk about bad timing.
Good motion by Dan. He's got to keep on going though. Can't stop. It's very easy to relax when you're in the lead, when you're wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's just as easy to lose that lead as such. Has to get across that face and pick up that ankle.
Oh, good
Good work
takedown
by
by
Kingston.
Kingston. Again, you see he did a good job of keeping his feet and knees in bounds, even though Gibbons was out of bounds.
And we're tied up halfway through the match. Dan's got to move on bottom if he wants to win. Good first motion, and now we need the second motion. And there it is.
Very rarely does the first move you try on bottom actually work. You really got to put it together with a few other moves.
Yeah. Dan's got to move here. I'm not entirely sure what he's thinking about right now. But it doesn't look like he's thinking about wrestling. Good work by Kingston. Keeping him down.
See, right
And
here, it
looking
looks
for the
like
move.
Gibbons is more worried about not being turned over as opposed to getting points himself.
Yep. And when you're worried about preventing the guy from scoring on you, you've already lost. I think Dan Gable said that.
He was a good person to quote.
Nice job by Kingston blocking Dan's first move. You need to string moves together. When you stand up and you're taken back down, there's a brief moment of opportunity, and you can switch.
Especially when he was taken down the way Kingston took him down.
Yep.
Kingston's just working the 2-on-1 right here.
You can see Dan there with his face on the mat. It looks like he's asleep.
See, Dan's really got to work back to his base right here. There it is. He had the chance, but he didn't hit it.
You can't just react. You have to be proactive. Kingston with the Western. Sucking him back. Dan has to turn in here. Dan looking a little tired. If it's tied by the end of the period, it's going to go into overtime, in which the first takedown will win. However, if Dan doesn't start moving, it's possible that it will not be tied as such.
Gibbons really has to stay out of bounds right here.
He has to not get pinned here. His team needs him to not get pinned. And the ref calls out of bounds. And no back points because Dan's shoulders were out of bounds.
If there was ever a good time to be out of bounds, that was it.
Yep.
That saved him the match right there.
Now 10 seconds to go. Dan has to score. No points.
Oh.
Two. No score. With half a second to go, it looks like it's going into overtime.
Yeah, I don't think you can get an escape in half a second, can you? I think that'd be
I don't think the ref can react to an escape in half a second.
not this one.
Now this is where it's really about heart, because no one has energy at this point.
No. You can tell both wrestlers are trying to get some air right now.
Dig deep and tough it out in order to win this.
Suck
Good
in
shot.
that leg.
Has to finish with it. Going for that trip there, has to get back over, and that's two.
Great job by Kingston.
Yeah. Good job by Kingston. You have to be careful with those trips. It's very there are some moves that are very easy to run, but have the risk of you getting scored on return. In wrestling, if something's easy to do, it's probably a bad idea.
That actually just tied up the match at 19.
Yep.
So here we have Tak Hirayama for Needham.
And Chris Casey from Brookline. Chris, also a first-year wrestler, has to be aggressive here instead of backing up. Good takedown by Tak Hiragama.
Hirayama, I believe his last
Hirayama.
name is.
Got a good arm bar there. And it looks like Tak is going for the pin. Chris has to keep fighting down from here.
If he
Has
would
to
just
move.
roll away from Hirayama, he could roll through.
Yep.
But I don't think he knows to do that at this point.
And that's a pin. Nothing to talk about.
That was a big 6 points for Needham right there.
Yep. Now, Andres Marin of Brookline, a senior.
Against Aben Miles from Needham.
This is going to be big for Brookline. And Joseph on the scoreboard is currently scrubbing it, and he needs to do his work. We are all set. With 3 matches to go and Brookline giving up 1 weight class means that Brookline needs to get at least 2 pins in order to win. Down by 6 now, and you're going to give up 1, so down by 12. So in these next 3 matches, we need 2 pins because we're not going to win on a tiebreaker. That's 2 for Needham's Aben. I'm going to call him Mr. Miles.
I think Miles has to be careful of the choke. Looked like he really had Marin by the neck.
Aben. This is more what motion on bottom should look like. Very good show by Andres Marin. Just has to put some moves together. You can step over those hips. Andres Marin, also known as Cheech, needs to score some points. I'm not entirely sure where he got the name Cheech from. I think it's from rugby. Cheech was the name of another Andres who is a professional rugby player.
I believe Cheech Marin is also an actor from Cheech and Chong. But that was probably a little bit before your time.
Good stepping up that leg. He has to keep on working with it though. With 1 minute in the first period, he needs to score something. Good opportunity for an escape and a takedown, or just for a reversal, but he needs to work with it and not roll over to his back.
He's got to roll through on that.
Has to fight hard. You cannot give up.
Oh.
Next up, Ramses Akamafula of Brookline.
Is Ramsey's going to go 195, or do you think coach is going to bump him up?
It looks like, hard to say at this point.
All right, so it looks like Ramsey is going to wrestle 220. Brookline's forfeiting 195.
That puts Needham up by 18. In these matches, especially when you're giving up weights like we have, you cannot afford to have your wrestlers get pinned.
Oh, that's a killer.
False start by Ramses. Not entirely sure what he was doing there.
I think he's just so fired up. Just getting a little excited. Maybe playing mind games.
Needham doesn't look too happy about his position right now.
So for Needham, it's crisp attack.
Looks like Ramsey's Ramsey's all business today. Every once in a while, he likes to play with his food. but today does not seem to be one of those days. Wearing the old Brookline wrestling singlet, not entirely sure where he found one. On the front, you can see it has our old mascot. Ramsey's throwing the legs, very unorthodox for a heavier wrestler, but he works with it.
He's got to be careful because he's really loose. So if Patak knew how to defend it.
I'm assuming he thinks he can afford it.
As you said, a lot of times he can get away with it because big wrestlers just don't know how to defend it.
Yep.
Because they never see it.
So it's hard to tell whether or not Ramsey's is aiming for a pin or a tech fall. It varies depending.
It doesn't look like he's really trying to pin him right here.
Yeah.
He's way too high.
Good fight by Chris Patak. The ref awarded him 1. Chris from Needham chooses the top position. Ramsey's got his feet out to the side. He's probably looking for a Granby or a roll.
Definitely looks like he's telegraphing a move that he's looking to do right here.
John, when you see somebody doing that, you should line up on the other side. Or not.
Very surprising. It was just a stand-up.
Yeah. And he's got stud cradle. And he lost the stud cradle.
I think he's going to work it anyway.
Yeah. Just going for a normal cradle. Stepped over, and there is a stud cradle. Stud cradle is when you sit it up on your hip like he is, and Needham does not want him to do that.
Now, one thing Ramsey has to be careful of is if he doesn't watch the score, he could end up with just 5 points for Brookline as opposed to a pin at 6. Now, at this point, I don't think Brookline can come back, so it doesn't really matter. But
and there it is. Next up, we have another first-year wrestler, a freshman, Adin Abdul Kadir of Brookline against Will Burke, the 2 heavyweights. Heavyweight is everything from 220 to 285, so you can see a huge variety in the size of people. When you get up here, the wrestling style is very different because it's a lot more throwing and upper body stuff as opposed to people taking shots. It's very rare in high school to see a heavyweight take a shot. When it does happen, definitely crowd pleaser.
right now we're looking at a score of 37 for Needham, 25 for Brookline. So Needham has this match, well, has the meat wrapped up, but
you can see them fighting with their arms, Adden reaching for the leg. However, Needham has an underhook there and going for the hip toss. Adden's trying to sit back and prevent him from getting that.
Got to keep those hips low.
Yep. It's very difficult in heavyweight matches to determine who's going to win because at any point, one person can get throwed.
Yep.
And once you're throwed and you have those 250 to 280 pounds on you,
you're done.
You're not moving. Got to sit back there. Got to spin around. It looks like still a scramble here. Still a scramble, no points.
Oh.
He's got to belly out now, or he's going to risk getting pinned. got to fight to his belly. Keep on fighting. Good fight by Adam. I mean, Joe, if it was you or me down there, we'd definitely have a couple of ribs crushed by now.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. Very good fight by Adam.
As you said, once a heavyweight's in that position, it's really tough. So the final score is now 43 for Needham to 25 for Brookline.
The wrestlers will now go to shake each other's hands.
And we'll be right back with a wrap-up in a few moments.
Stay tuned.
Hi, and we're here for our wrap-up of the Brookline High Wrestling match today against Needham High School. Unfortunately for Brookline, they lost 43 to 25, but it was a lot closer than the score appeared. Brookline really got off to a good start, but they seemed to fade towards the end of the match. Aiden, what were your thoughts on today's match?
I have to agree with you. We started out really well, and then towards the end, we petered out, both because we had to forfeit 2 of our weights, which really hurt us, but also because that's when we got to some of the newer kids, our first-year wrestlers. And I thought watching these matches, even the ones which we won, noticed some key things that we need to work on. Our guys are very slow when it comes to moving when they're on the ground. They're lethargic, they stay still, and you can't do that. When you're down there and you're like that, you're going to get scored on, you're going to get pinned. And Needham did a very good job of doing the opposite when they were very active, kept moving, did not give up no matter what. And that's key. That's key.
Definitely.
And I think Brookline, what we did do well is that we stayed aggressive in neutral. We stayed aggressive when we were standing, and that's a big thing because if you can start out a match well, it's very good.
And so just to wrap up, this is Joe Figler and Aiden Brown with Brookline Access Television. And I just wanted to wish everyone a good evening and thank you for joining us.